type 3 major modification of an existing conditional use. So effectively, we are amending and updating the conditional use approval that we received in 2016 for the rebuild project. The application will also be a design review application. So there will be 2 applications going to the city in one package. The application will include the classroom additions, some modest site layout improvements. They're really not making too many changes to the site, as you'll see here in a moment. And our application will demonstrate how we comply with the city standards and development regulations. The objective is to file the land use application in early March. And because it's a type 3 application, it will go to the Planning Commission. That has not been scheduled yet, but we would expect that that would probably be in late spring to get to the Planning Commission. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eric Bolken with the school district, and he can go over the high points of the improvements.
Yeah. Thanks, Frank. As Frank mentioned, we are doing an addition here at the existing school. We are adding 4 permanent classrooms to the south side of the school. For those that have been there before, there's a large overhang area, covered area. And so this new addition is fitting kind of right in the same footprint of the existing school. So we're renovating one existing underutilized room. It's actually was the computer lab, but part of the reason for this work is we are doing, the school district in general has started using or has implemented an early childhood program, so pre-K work. And right now, the existing computer lab is being used as a pre-K room. So this addition, where, as it says on the slide, we're supporting increase in staffing. So it's able to reduce class sizes as well as be able to serve our pre-K program here at Vose. The addition is that 4,950 square feet of classroom. No changes are happening to the parking lot, traffic patterns or anything like that. We'll still have 49 staff slots and 58 visitor and staff parking spots on site. So there won't be any change to the parking lot working. The addition, it'll be much clearer where this is going and what all work we're doing as DLR takes the reins here and explains a little more about our design. So with that, I'll hand it over to Tim and Frank from DLR.
Thank you, Eric and Frank. Angelo, I've sort of always wanted to be a Frank Angelo, so can't quite do you justice, but I'll do my best here.
You do it better than I do, so.
So like Eric was saying, you know, the addition is quite modest. The projected footprint of the actual addition is actually, like Eric was saying, sort of underneath the overhang. I think that if anyone's been to the site, you've obviously noticed the beautiful, huge oak tree. Something that is really special to the school. It's special to us, the community. That's not being affected by this project, which I think is pretty important. The infill, like I said, sort of slides underneath. There's already the second floor that goes overhead. I just wanted to, we have some elevations later, but in terms of quality, you know, I want to compliment the school district to always commit to quality. We really want these buildings to be around for a long time, not only to serve the community, but also the students and the district for, you know, 100 years. So the new addition will be of the same quality as the existing school, which is a very high quality. And so, and also their commitment to safety on the site. So with that, you could, yeah, please. Yeah, great. This diagram sort of shows the impact of the project itself. The yellow is existing. So that's just really being renovated. Interior walls are being shifted in order to allow access basically to the addition, which you see there in orange. So we're there right now. There's a library in there. We're sort of weaving a hallway through the library in order to get to the new classrooms that are really being built underneath. So again, the yellow is existing. The orange is the 4,900 and change square footage of actual new that is actually underneath the overhang. Part of that, again, is the classrooms as well as relocating the existing library. We're still providing that exterior access. There's sort of this courtyard that connects out to the oak tree that is being maintained. It's just a smaller opening. Before it was wider, now it's smaller. All of the exiting distances and allowances in terms of exiting is being maintained, so we meet code for exiting and egress. Next slide, please. Just kind of zooming in, the other slide was a site plan. This is our floor plan, zooming in a little tighter. Again, you can't quite see where the addition and where the renovation merged, and that's intentional. We really want this to look like this piece of the building was always there. So that's, I think, important to highlight that this will not appear like some dangling addition that made no sense and it looks like an appendage. It actually will look like part of the original building, like it should have always been there. And again, going back to what Eric was saying, that this is really about lowering class size to get a smaller student to teacher ratio to help learning for students. And, it's all about the student. So we would be increasing 4 staff, basically, not to get into FTE too much. And then we're shifting that the library. So with that comes some restrooms that are interior, some drinking fountains, some hand washing stations. We're still providing that connection to the outdoors for operational use for students and teachers to get out to the bus drop off to come into the school, as well as connecting to the school itself, which is the commons up north. So it's basically a fully functioning school that looks intentional from the start. Next slide, please. I mentioned quality and safety earlier. The orange that you're seeing here is actually the new part. And so what hopefully you can see is that it looks like it was there all along. Again, we're going to be matching in terms of quality, in terms of articulation, openings, solid voids, same window types, and sort of glazing types. So the materials will be of the existing. And then again, you can kind of see the south elevation, the west elevation, and finally the courtyard elevation to the south. And again, this would not impact the existing oak tree, which is a pretty phenomenal tree. And that includes the landscaping as well. We sort of had to relocate some sidewalks in order to not impact the oak tree. So in the long term, it's a great fit in order to save that special element to the site.
And Tim, aren't we relocating the raised beds that are there as well?
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. If you've been to Vose, the garden agriculture program is very special to this school. It's always been a special element. We're going to retain that. So right now, those beds are actually kind of in that orange zone, and all we're simply doing is shifting them south. They'll still get the same amount of quality daylight to grow the things they need to grow. It's still a major program within their school. We wanted to honor that. Everything basically stays, it just sort of shifts slightly.
Great. Well, that's the overview of the proposal. Again, we'll file the application in early March and get to the Planning Commission. Construction is targeted for summer of 2022, so it's a little over a year out. And if you have any further questions after today's meeting, you can give Eric, Eric's email is there, or you have my email as a part of the notice as well, the neighborhood notice. So if you live within 300 feet, I believe, of the site, you will get notice of the Planning Commission hearing as a property owner. So that ends our presentation, and we are open for questions. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Steve Bruns here. I'm part of the NAC and the BCCI. Unfortunately, your pictures are a little bit too small for me to see on my screen and really be able to dig into it. You said 4 classrooms and Frank said, or Tim said 5. No, you said 5. Frank said 4 classrooms. Which is it? 4 or 5?
It's 4 classrooms and a computer lab as well, which can double as a maker space. So there's 4 traditional classrooms.
The computer lab existed. You're just moving it or shrinking it. You're moving some stuff around. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
How many student seats will that allow in that school?
Well,
Let me do the math real quick.
the overall capacity that was approved in 2016 was 750 students. And this is not increasing it because class size is going down as a result of this. So we're maintaining 750 class overall capacity.
So we're decreasing the density. You're just shifting it around. You're not actually. So when COVID is done and we can get back to less than 6-foot spacing, will the school then go up to say 800 or will it always stay at 750? I know that's only a guess.
So as far as square footage per person, there will be more square footage to the building. So in theory, you could fit more people. But the purpose of this addition really is to reduce the student ratio within the school. So that's the goal for this addition.
By only adding 4 classrooms, which grade level are you not going to accommodate?
Well, from year to year, the grade levels they fluctuate, and so it's able to be used by the different grade levels depending on what the loading is for that school at a certain year. The classrooms are essentially the same size and layout as the rest of the general classrooms within the school, so they could accommodate any of the age groups.
Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So would it be possible for you to put back on your screen the blueprint that you had in the beginning?
Yes.
And maybe make it a little bit bigger so that we can see
This
it
one?
just for a second?
Which one? This one?
Probably the floor
No.
plan.
I'm sorry, this one?
No,
See,
floor plan.
Floor
That one,
plan,
and
okay.
that one, the site plan there, and can you make that bigger? Because
Did that do
it's
it?
hard for me to see as well. No,
That didn't get bigger?
It got bigger, but
no, you just,
Not
the
enough?
text is not readable.
Okay, I'll keep going.
well, see the first one. So the one that I'm asking for is the one with the 2 different colors on it as well.
Okay, okay, that's
That was
fine.
the very
Okay, I'll
first
go
one
up
you
one.
showed.
Okay, that's fine.
Site
So,
plan.
Yeah,
There we
Frank,
go.
you might just have to zoom in there because the floor plan is in that. This diagram is trying to show what the actual addition is. It is showing the final design. The yellow is sort of the existing footprint. The orange is what is sort of being added. You might have to zoom in a little bit if there's questions about the floor plan.
all right.
I think there's is just wanting to make sure that I get as much information as I can, because I have a lot of people who I know who their kids attend the school and they're wanting to get as much information as possible, but they're not able to make it to this meeting.
So does this help?
Yes, thank you. Let me just look at it for a second, if you don't mind.
It looks like you've got the computer going from top to bottom. You got the computer lab, 2 classrooms in the existing space, and then you're going to have 2 classrooms in the new space, 2 restrooms. What's that next space that's next to the pass through into the courtyard?
That is the library. So basically where the yellow is used to be the library, and there's a mechanical room up there too. The library basically shifts really with a nice view to the oak tree to the south there, which is over by that opening. And with that is a workroom. So we've moved basically the spaces that the programmatic spaces that were in the yellow shifted down to the bottom. And then we have the classrooms. That way the classrooms are sort of closer to the commons, creates like a little pod.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the big room that's on the right-hand side of the yellow area, that's the mechanical room, the work room. What is it?
The Frank, I don't think I can draw on here, can I?
Okay.
I used to be able to. You've given me.
You're beyond me right now. This is about the extent of my capabilities.
Floor
want me to-
plan. Maybe go to the floor plan, because
Okay.
those spaces are labeled a little more, able to see those a little more clearly. There we go.
All right. Here we are. That better?
Yeah, if you go plan north so that we can see where the hexagon tables are. So there's a media learning center there. That's existing, is that correct?
That's in the existing footprint.
Okay,
That is basically what is called the media center right now. So that is becoming the computer lab.
okay,
And then the there's 2 over, Frank, if you can pan up a little bit, there's
Okay.
2 classrooms to the left of the computer lab, which is again in the currently the existing footprint. To the
Right.
north of that, if you keep going north, is the existing mechanical room. We're definitely not touching that because that would not be.
okay,
Yeah. We don't want to mess with that. That would be, yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, we're not affecting any of the existing mechanical systems, plumbing, et cetera, of the existing schools. So, for cost and all that. And then you can see how the corridor ties into the commons, which is just to the north there. So you got the existing boiler room, not messing with that. We're adding 2 single-use restrooms. We're also adding a hand washing station there because schools, my wife's a teacher, they like to bring students in from play, you wash your hands and then go into the commons. So there's a nice flow operationally, or you go from commons out to recess. Or you already wash your hands and go to class. And so then you have the computer lab there. You have 2 bathrooms, and as you scroll down, you have new classroom, another new classroom, and all that right there is in the existing sort of footprint. Then when you go south of that, here's 2 more classrooms. So there's your 4, and then you have the computer lab, which is, we'll just say, we won't call it a classroom because it's sort of all part of that media center makerspace. And then now you can see here how we have the media center stacks, which is connected to that makerspace, so the librarian can sort of monitor everything that's going on from one spot. And then we have our workroom to support the librarian directly south. So we're really providing nice sight lines internally to monitor kids, let them do the learning that they need to do, and provide safety. And then we're
May I
meeting
ask
code,
a
obviously.
question?
Yeah.
So I'm just wanting to make sure. So the media room that you've got there, it looks like there's no wall containing that to the library. Is that correct? Or is there a wall with a door separate from the library?
Where you see the hexagon tables on the top part of the screen, that is open to the rest of the library there. If you scroll up a little bit, Frank, a little further, there's kind of a zigzag line right there.
That's the accordion slider.
Yeah, so that's a operable wall that then separates where those hexagon tables are is one big space with the library. It kind of almost an S kind of shape. And that is the computer lab that has the operable partition there between.
And you do have the double doors that essentially go from the hallway into the media center library area. So that's how you separate that off from
Well, I
the,
understand that. I'm just trying to think functionality. I mean, I'm very accustomed with what the school looks like now and how they have their technology classes. And then next door, you've got a class trying to check out their books from the library. And I'm just wanting to make sure that there is that separation and the noise barrier that's needed for concentration and other things like that. So if it looks correct, the stacks for the library are completely separate and away from what it looks like the media area. So that's hopefully good separation there. I mean,
Yeah, we've been working with the both Monique and Melissa, the principal, vice principal there at the school, as well as the district librarians, to get their input on how best to lay out the library itself. So DLR has been doing a great job of coordinating with the different stakeholders at the district to be able to really serve all the needs as best as we can.
and then one other thing, kind of referring back to what Steve was mentioning earlier about the total capacity of the building. So from my experience, the last 3 years that my child has been at Vose, each year we're adding a bilingual classroom. And so we've got now 3 bilingual and then 2 English only classrooms. So it seems like at some point, these classrooms that you're adding on, they're going to be at capacity as well. Because I mean, every year we've had at least 28 students in the classrooms. English only is about maybe 17 to 21 students, it seems like. So is there any thought on that going forward, or would you suggest me speaking with Monique and Melissa about that?
Yeah, I think Monique and Melissa would have a little more insight on that than I do.
Okay. I think maybe what Steve might have been referring to is, you know, spending all of this money, adding in these classrooms when, you know, before the building was actually built, there was a lot of pushback from the Vose NAC and the community about making sure that the building was going to be large enough before doing all the construction. So it seems interesting now that, you know, a couple years later, we're coming back and having to add on. So I guess I wasn't part of the initial conversation, but at this point, it just seems interesting that there was a lot of pushback, and then now we're coming a couple years later saying, oh, now we need to add on. It seems like maybe, you know, that could have been something considered beforehand, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I could answer a little bit of that because I was on the design of the original, that these were actually designed to add on in this area. So at the time when they did the planning for the first round, when was that, Eric? 5 years ago. That was the capacity to teacher ratio they were interested in. However, they asked us to identify places to have an addition, and this was one of them. Obviously, you could put portables out in the field, but they feel like portables in a field, right? I don't think that was equitable or something they were interested in. So this area was identified, 5 years ago. It just wasn't at the time. They didn't need the square foot. It wasn't part of their program.
So that begs the question, you built 4 or 3 other schools exactly like this. When are you going to expand them in the same way?
Well, I'm not the long range planner. I know in talking with our long range planners that right now all of our enrollments are trending down. We're reducing population throughout the district. And that's kind of the way it's projecting out into the future as well. And so like we mentioned at the top, this addition really is with the anticipation that we're not making room for more students necessarily. It's more to reduce the ratio of teacher to student for instructional purposes. So it's that and being able to house the pre-K program that's there now that wasn't planned at the time. That wasn't something that the district was doing at the time that we planned these schools. And it doesn't happen at every school either. Vose is just one of the schools where that does happen, where we have the pre-K program. So it's just a couple things that we didn't anticipate as far as the pre-K goes, and then trying to reduce our ratios here, specifically at Vose, whereas some of the other schools, Sato, I don't believe that they are targeting the same student to teacher ratio as they are here. So it's each of them are facing their own kind of individual needs within the district.
Eric, isn't part of this construction in response to a new funding mechanism that allows for the hiring of more teachers?
Yeah.
And that wasn't anticipated when they built the schools originally.
Yeah, along with the corporate activities tax, there's the student success initiative where different schools are identified as trying to specifically reduce the ratio of teacher to student, and this is one of those schools. So as opposed to trying to reduce the ratios district-wide, this is a school where we're specifically trying to reduce the ratio of student to teacher. So the added classrooms allows that. Also, the funding mechanism, like Miles mentioned, is goes towards funding the extra staff that would then be in these rooms.
Great. Any final questions? Okay, well, thank you. And again, thank you for allowing us to be on your agenda for the neighborhood meeting. We appreciate that. And in the future, if the NAC will certainly get notice of the public hearing, and if you're within, I think it's 300 feet or maybe 500 feet of the building, you'll get notice of the public hearing when the city is ready to schedule that. So thank you again, and good evening.
Thank you, Frank. Cassandra, I was going to mention too, when they formally submit their application to the city, it'll be published to the website, and you'll be able to view all the documents that they submit, their final plans that they're asking the city to review, and look at them in detail.
Okay, thank you, Miles.
Yeah. And Just one more thing, Cassandra, I'll put my email in the chat. If you want to email me, I can send you the link when it does come up, so you don't have to just keep checking. Be happy to do that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, next we've got Sara King from the city of Beaverton to talk about the book corner redevelopment. And I'll let her introduce the other people with her.
Thanks, Miles. Good evening. Hey, I noticed during the last presentation that my internet was kicking in or having a few little hiccups. So if I happen to like freeze for a minute, I'll try to move my screen around, and I think I'll come back, but I just wanted to let you know that I've been having a little trouble. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. And let's see. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Well, let me introduce the folks that are here to speak this evening. I'm Sara King. I'm a development manager with the city of Beaverton working on downtown projects. And with me this evening is Glenn Ferdman, the director of our library, as well as developer Adam Monshi. We're going to talk about a proposal that involves a site I think you are all aware of, and that is the Book Corner site. Now, technically, this site and the project that we're going to talk about is actually located in the Beaverton Central Neighborhood Association, but because we're on the boundary, this project is on the boundary with both, we decided it made sense to come talk to you. And in fact, we're coming to you first. We're going to Beaverton Central next Monday, so you're gonna see it first. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna move forward here, and I'm gonna adjust my screen. Let's go ahead and we're gonna do the presentation. We're gonna buzz through it pretty quickly, and then we'll open it up for questions. Okay, we are talking about a proposed project that involves two sites. One is the Book Corner site that I know you're all aware of at Southwest Washington and 5th, and it involves the adjacent site at Southwest 5th and Southwest West Hall. The city owns the Book Corner site. Adam Monshi and his development team have control of the site next door, and they can talk more about that in their part of the presentation. So the city-owned site is the one highlighted in yellow. It houses the Book Corner used bookstore, and it is zoned for high-density mixed-use development. It's actually been zoned for high-density development for quite some time, but this fall, you may be aware that the City Council adopted some changes to the development code pertaining to downtown. And one of the changes meant that this site is now under the same zoning, residential zoning as other residential parts downtown. Primarily what that means is now it allows ground floor commercial uses. So we can have mixed use buildings on this site. The development proposal combines these two adjacent sites for redevelopment. It includes 31 rental and between 1 and 3 commercial or live work units. The developer would purchase the Book Corner site at market value, and that market value, I'm having a little brain fade. I think it's $350,000.
430,000.
Thank you. I was having a complete brain fade. $430,000. Thank you, Adam. The developer will purchase the Book Corner site at market value, as I stated, and then the city has requested, even though it's a market transaction, we are asking that the developer provide some affordable housing units via what we call a write-down program, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. I'm going to turn this one over to Glenn to talk a little bit about what this means for the Book Corner.
Sure, thank you, Sara, and good evening. Glenn Ferdman, the Beaverton City Library Director. Thank you for inviting us to present. So Sara just was providing an outline of the development on the property currently occupied by the Book Corner and the adjacent property. As part of this proposal, we conducted a feasibility study to explore what it would look like to incorporate the Friends retail operation into the main library. And that study concluded in September of last year. And what it will, the end result is that we're looking at incorporating approximately 2/3 of the Friends physical retail operation into the library space, divided between a portion of the lobby as well as the interior of the library. And then in the back of the house, we're going to be providing additional space for processing of donated materials, intake, as well as some storage of their inventory. The city has also agreed to work with the Friends to help them identify alternate space for their online sales operation, which is another aspect of their retail operation. So back to you, Sarah.
All right. Okay, so we recently meeting in December, we went to the city council to talk about this proposal. And because we wanted to know, were they comfortable with it? Did they feel like the public benefits were adequate enough? And did they want us to proceed? And they said, yes, they did want us to proceed, primarily because this project will include the following public benefits. As Glenn just mentioned, the book corner retail donation functions will move into the Beaverton Library, and there's some synergistic benefits there. The project will enhance and expand housing choices near transit and near amenities, including the library, but of course the park as well and others. The project will provide 4 affordable units for 10 years at 60% and 80% MFI. That stands for median family income. So what that means is that the city will pay the difference for 4 units in this building. 4 of those units will have restricted rents, and they will be restricted to those that are making 60% and 80% median family, metro area median family income. And the difference between that restricted rent and the market rent will be, in fact, the city itself will pick up the difference and give that to the landlord, so that the landlord can continue to offer affordable units for 10 years. And I can get into, if you have more questions about median family income and what that means, you can ask about that when we're done. But in the interest of moving on, the project will provide ground floor activity and a mix of uses. And Adam can talk a little bit more about what they're thinking about in terms of ground floor. And then the other benefit is that the city will comply with the city's what we call COVID. That's actually a state word. That's an acronym for good faith effort for contracting. So what that means is subcontractors, a certain percent, it's actually, we want the contractor to make a good faith effort to include 20% of their subcontracting contracts to go to firms that are owned by women, minorities, or emerging small businesses. This is a pretty common kind of requirement with public projects. This isn't exactly a public project because we're selling this at market rate, but this is the kind of thing that we want to see happening in our community. And so we're including this good faith effort requirement. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Adam to talk more about the specific project.
Good evening. Be very brief. You know, the project, the site originally is owned by the corner on 5th and Hall is owned by Jim and Ann. They're actually here joining us tonight, and they approached me to help them develop this project. And we approached Sarah and Cadence at City of Beaverton to acquire the book corner. And we were received with positive reaction in terms of developing a project that fits the downtown Beaverton and has view of the park. And of course, it has affordable housing component. It has ground floor retail. At this point, we're not quite sure how much demand we'll have on retail. So we have the space of, flexible as live, work, and retail. So it can be converted to full retail or live, work. It's a 4-story building, 31 apartment units and 3 live, work commercial. It's elevator served. The size of the site kind of limits us to what we have in terms of number of units. The city has a parking requirement of 0.7. It needs 0.7 parking per unit. We're very excited. I mean, it's a very good looking project from our point of view. It has the amenity of the park, close to the library. And we are looking forward to breaking ground sometimes early 2022, about the same time you're starting school.
Adam, would you like me, you have to tell me, I can start flipping through these, just let me know.
Well, you can just flip through the
on.
perspectives. I mean, they're just view of, these are kind of the west view, the east view. I believe that's the east view of the project. You can flip through the next one. There's a south view that shows this is the south view of the property. There's parking in the back. There's tuck under parking. We have about, I believe 34 or 35 parking spaces. So it should not really impact parking in the neighborhood. We have a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom units. And of course, ground floor retail.
All right. Why don't we go ahead? I think if Glenn, Adam, if you've got nothing else to add, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. I'll leave this up too in case people want to refer to it during questions.
Yeah, thanks for letting us present this to you.
I'm curious. Hi, I'm curious with your COVID goals. If you have any, methods or plan for any kind of tracking and reporting out on like meeting those goals.
Yeah, we do. So we report, any kind of for any public project, as you are well aware, because you work under the same kinds of. Probably has some COVID goals itself. When we do ask, sorry, I have a little feedback. I apologize for that. When we require anyone to follow COVID requirements, we do track it. So I actually have not done that since I've been with the city. I've got a colleague that actually specializes in that, and she does all of the tracking for affordable housing projects. But yes, I believe there's actually, during construction, I think we might require a monthly report out. I can't quite, I don't quite know for sure, but definitely we track it.
Okay, thank you.
And you all do too, right? Beaverton does too, school district.
Yeah, we have we're working on adding more, teeth to our contracts in that realm, because it is hard, asking for good faith efforts to really hold people accountable to it.
Other questions or comments?
Sir, I have a question. What's the funding mechanism on the rent buy down?
I believe that it is coming out. This is not in the Bureau district. It's not in the urban renewal district. So I believe the buy down is coming out of our affordable housing budget. And I believe, and I don't know for sure, but when we talk about tracking, is we track affordable units. Even affordable units that we do write downs on market rate projects like this. We do track these as affordable units that that are that we are providing in the city.
So I'll ask two questions. What is the current medium income? And are you planning to be LEED certified in some way in this building?
I can answer the first one, Adam, if you want to answer the second one.
Sure, yes.
Yeah, so there is a we get numbers I think it's from the state, could be based on some federal numbers, but it's calibrated for area. So for Washington County, just to give you an example, 60% median family income for a family of 4. And there's a whole table. So these limits all depend on how many people are in the family. But for a family of 4, 60% income means you don't earn more than $55,260. And for a family of 4, the 80% income limit means you don't earn more than $73,680.
Okay.
So that I wrote down. The rest I have to go check the table for you.
I'm just curious how poor I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to answer your second question, we are going to look at the Green Globe certification. LEED certified is not quite designed for the smaller buildings like this. They're really designed for larger office buildings or multi-use projects that are much larger. But Green Globe is somewhat common for smaller projects.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. It's just a process a little bit easier to qualify for a smaller building.
I've seen in a lot of projects live workspaces. What kind of business or what goes on in a live workspace?
That's a good question. It depends on the area. I mean, if you look at the downtown Beaverton, the project that Remble did, I noticed there was like a alteration shop that was in the live work. Now, whether that person lived there or not, I don't know, but I could tell that the lady was actually doing alterations. She had signs for the alterations. So I kind of walked around, looked at the live work unit, and some of them are just used for small businesses. But they're designed so if there's nobody interested in that small business usage or retail usage, you can rent it as an apartment unit.
Other uses that, oh, go ahead, Ann.
I was just going to say that there's some other examples of live workspace that are pretty, I think, really attractive. Are in Inner Northwest around Vaughan and maybe 23rd to 24th. Is it Vaughan? Yeah, Vaughan and 23rd, 24th, right in there. And those live workspaces have been used for things like graphic design. Couples who might have a graphic design business, or I know they've had small baby retail clothing business, and others, artist studios for some. So it's kind of a really fun, different mixed use for those folks who live there and want to use it in that creative way.
I know people that have examples like the ones that add on to Adam and Ann's ideas. Thinking of, I've seen plant shops, I've seen hair salons, nail salons, realtors. I know of a live work with a realtor actually lived upstairs for a while and ran his business on the ground floor.
Okay.
So lots of small businesses. It's great. It's a great way for a small business owner to have some space.
Right. I've worked on a number of buildings doing design work and seen those in there. I just never saw the completed project. So I didn't know what really moves into some of those. So thank you.
All right then, Miles, we ready to turn it over to you?
I have one more question.
Sure.
This is to prepare you for Central Beaverton. So, how many trees are you going to remove? And what's the plan for replacing that canopy? Is there?
I can answer that, Adam, if you probably don't know.
Go ahead, please do that, Ann.
Yeah. Well, actually, in front of the book
There are
corner,
some trees, yeah.
it was 1 or 2 trees, I believe. Our property is on the 5th and Hall corner, the opposite corner, and those trees honestly really need to come down. They're almost dangerous. So we will take those. Those 2 trees will come down. You know, so you have 2 or 3 trees over at the book corner. But as you've seen in the design that Adam showed you, we will be doing some landscaping along that whole street that would include planting or trees or whatever we're able to put in that width. So they'll be significantly replaced in terms of number.
Yeah, we'll have a requirement for landscaping that includes trees, trees on the sidewalk, as well as we'll have extensive bioswales for stormwater management. So the landscaping will be extensive. Hopefully that will replace, it won't quite replace the old trees, but as Ann said, some of those trees have to come down anyway. We'll hire arborists to give us advice on how to do that.
Mm.
There's no other questions.
But you did trigger a question for me. And that is, and it really goes back to the Beaverton School District. And do they understand the significance of what that oak tree, what it marks? And I don't know if they're still here, but I believe that oak tree actually marked part of the boundary of some of the original parcels and settlement of the Vose neighborhood, or the Vose pioneers. So that big oak tree is a significant historical marker for the city of Beaverton.
It's good to know.
Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask all our presenters to go ahead and jump off. I'm just gonna talk for a few minutes with the NAC volunteers.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you. Good night.
Hi, Steve and Penny.
Hi.
Hey there. And hey there, Scott Andler. I'm glad to see you there.
Yeah, I didn't invite him. I feel bad. He just showed up.
You're muted, just in case you didn't know that.
I just left myself off the video because I have to do it on my cell phone and my hand wobbles and it makes everybody.
Oh.
So I heard the whole thing.
Yes, I saw you there. That's great.
Sorry I didn't invite you, Scott. It's not a full-fledged NAC meeting. We're just trying to get the land use.
I got the email.
system.
So I knew I thought I was invited. Shoot.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Well,
I
want to hear from you. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you don't want to hear from me. It's not great. You want me to summarize the worst year in recent memory for policing. So it would be impossible. It's not been good, but it's been better Beaverton than other places. And we're seeing a lot of trends that are mostly driven by the fact that jails and courts are not operating much above 10% or 20%. So the best news is that it's probably better here than other places, but very frustrating time to be working as a police officer and get things done to help the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any specific questions about stuff you're seeing or concerned of.
I've just heard of a lot of package theft all across the region.
Yeah.
All theft is up. Cars are getting stolen, trailers. Basically, the best we can do is the number of thieves out there is constant. And when a third of them are in jail, even if for 6 months or 5 months or 2 months or a year, it makes an impact. But right now, we're just not holding people for property crimes, the jails. And And it's leading to us writing tickets for significant crimes where we're like, we'll get back with you when COVID ends. And the message to the community that wants to commit these crimes is free for all. So package thefts, mail theft, car theft, shoplifting's through the roof. But it's better than Portland. You know, we have not tripled our shootings and murders. So it's better than that. We have not had a lot of violent crime, which I consider to be a very good thing. And we're doing better than a lot of the cities. And just lots of behavioral issues where we deal with the same person 6 times in a day.
Yeah, I don't envy your work. That's
No,
for sure.
but we do appreciate it. I do.
Well,
appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll see what it looks like when COVID winds down. I hope we get a little more back to normal. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Scott.
Okay. Well, I'll let you folks have your meeting. Thanks for certainly inviting me. All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks. So, yeah, the NAC hasn't met in about a year. The rest of the board members retired, or that's not the right word, but they left. Some of them moved. And right now, our office doesn't have the capacity to go out and recruit a whole new board for Vose NAC. And so that's why it hasn't been meeting. At some point, we hope to have the manpower to do that. Vose NAC's incredibly important. It's incredibly important for, there's going to be a lot of development in Vose coming up. And so even if we're just running meetings for development right now, I think it's important that we meet. So I appreciate everybody who came out to hear the presentations tonight. Penny, it's good to see you.
Oh, good to see you too.
And yeah, and things might look different when we're getting ready to roll out more recruitment. Vose has such a high Hispanic population that we may look at doing kind of a reverse, doing Spanish meetings with English translation, if that encourages people to come out and participate. We want to hear from everybody.
Right.
So
I'd like to see us meet on a different night instead of Thursday, maybe a Monday. Just
You can
throwing it
have-
out there.
yeah, Monday or Wednesday are the open evenings.
Okay.
That other NACs aren't already meeting. With the Zoom, it's hard to staff multiple meetings on one night.
Right.
So other than that, the NAC still has its treasury. It hasn't changed in the year. It may have gone up a penny or two. No pun intended. I think it's at a credit union, so they give you a dividend each year, and it's only a few cents.
Good.
So that is just being held at the credit union, and it'll stay that way till we have a board.
Well, do they sometimes accounts go dormant? Is someone getting notices?
Yeah, I get a
in
notice
case
every
there's a
morning.
problem? Oh, good.
Not that it's a problem, but that here's your balance, both
But if
accounts
you-
at 1 a.m. every morning.
Okay.
Yeah. And if I need to log in and transfer $10 from one account to the other, I can do that.
Okay,
just to keep it
good.
going. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now with Vose NAC. I would have loved to start a meeting earlier, but with COVID, changed everybody's meeting patterns, and to say the least. And so I guess stay tuned if you're signed up to get the emails from the city so that you know when Vose is going to meet again. And Penny, I can look at it meeting a different day of the week.
Okay.
I know you got the
Sure.
Elks. You got the Elks Club. To
I
get to.
know that's our big meetings on Thursday night. And that's That's 4 Thursdays out of the month. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's big.
Cassandra,
So
could I
have
ask?
a question.
Oh, you go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I was also a board member of the Vose NAC for a while. And the idea of, you just mentioned of having it be a Spanish meeting with English translation, would that also then translate into recruiting Spanish speaking board members and having it be mainly a group run by Spanish speakers versus English speakers overtaking it for the neighborhood?
Um,
Or is that up in the air?
well, so membership is open to everyone in the neighborhood who lives there, and board membership is the first board that's set up will be at a yearly meeting, and we'll create a board according to the bylaws. And then that board votes in additional people to be board members and officers.
Right.
So I guess it's a possibility, but I don't know that that's likely, I would say.
Yeah, agreed.
And this neighborhood, these volunteers, the volunteers that are here that have been here for years, and some of the people who have left, have worked really hard to try to include the diverse population in the NAC, and we just haven't had success yet. So if there's ideas for how to invite people, or what would make it more appealing, or more friendly is not the right word, but like, you know, there's a reason to come to this meeting, and you're welcome here. I would love to hear anybody's ideas on that. And yeah, I think I'm absolutely open to running a Spanish speaking meeting and having English translation there.
I think
I think that would be a big thing, is having it be in non-English, because having it a very formal meeting that's, you know, being recorded, sometimes that in itself, you know, can be strange, you know, to people who aren't used to the way formal meetings work.
Right. Yeah, it is. I mean, even for you know, even for the majority population, you know, even for Caucasians, the younger generation doesn't know how necessarily a formal meeting runs, or how to do Robert's Rules of Order. If you weren't like in debate club in high school, I certainly wasn't exposed to it until college when I studied it. It can be intimidating for sure. Yeah. And I think it'd be even tougher if it's your second language or not, or you're not proficient, to try to understand what's happening. And when you can speak, and when you can ask questions and all those kinds of things. So we are looking at ways to, like, you know, make it better.
Yeah, I know that the big San Francisco market, there's a food court, there's a food area with seating. So, you know, looking into holding it in that space, there's plenty of space right in there for that.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that when we can meet again in person.
Yeah.
Inside. But yeah. Then we get a bunch of food and people sit and eat together. It's a great way for people to get to know each other and open up and talk.
Yeah.
And you can't argue when your mouth's full. So.
Well, I wouldn't put that past everyone.
Hi, Katie.
I totally missed if you guys are just board meeting. I had kids in and out, but if it's everybody, hi. Hi, Cassandra. I know Cassandra. Our
Hi,
kids
Katie.
both go to Vose.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, was the Vose presentation clear for you guys? Why they're doing it?
Honestly, like the first I'd actually heard of that, which is kind of surprising, but I missed the last PTO meeting, so it was probably there.
Not that I'm aware of.
No? Okay. Yeah.
No, and you know, that's another thing I think, that just letting parents know that our kids go to that school is there going to be something sent out, or is it just, oh, by the way, we're doing construction, it's said and done? I mean, that's kind of usually what the district does. They do whatever they want.
No comment on that.
I know.
I guess I would assume we would maybe hear about, they maybe start in the summer. Is that what they said?
The
think in
2022, I
March.
don't know when.
Well, yeah, he talked about construction in the summer of 2022.
Yeah.
What was it, Mark?
There will be a significant amount of planning that happens before then and some public comment, especially when it goes before the planning commission. But those comments will be limited effectively to building code related questions. So like when they proposed that 5 years ago that they were going to tear down the other school, rebuild, and the sequoia trees in particular came up, as well as the changing of the driveway. The changing of the driveway was something you might be able to address. The trees, on the other hand, that wasn't really a building code thing. It very important to the neighborhood, very important to many people, but it didn't mean anything to the planning commission because it was not a building code issue. And there's a big difference there. The nice thing here in this one, the building is already established. It will rearrange things, but it effectively, I don't see it as being other than the amount of square footage, I don't see it as something that's going to be terribly controversial, like rebuilding a whole school.
No, I think the main thing is just if it is going to actually reduce the class size like they say it will, and are they going to allow more students then to enroll because they say, oh, we have extra classrooms now, so we have 4 extra teachers, so let's enroll more students, and then we'll be back at square one with 20 kids crammed into the small classrooms.
I personally, I would go with that line with you as well. And given the way things have gone in the past, and my concern was more when we had the public meeting 5 years ago, and it was bilingual. I thought it was wonderful, but we all looked at the plans and said, I don't see 750 students at the same time in the building you proposed. If you rearrange certain things, you could get 750 students. I think personally, my take on this is they're now making the building big enough to actually hold 750. That's my take. It's not what the school board is saying.
So there are a couple of safeguards. They're not ironclad by any means, but their conditional use permit caps the number of students at 750. And if they violate that, then they can lose their right to have a school in that district, in that area. But they can go
shut down a school. Now, come on now.
Right. They do have the ability to there's a process to change that conditional use, but it requires coming before the neighborhood, going to planning commission. And I have a lot of background on this just because I was interested in it. It is true it's the same number of students because the money they're using is only to lower class sizes. They can't spend it on anything else. So if it doesn't lower class sizes, they can't use that funding. Okay. And like your question about the other schools, like Hazeldale is where my kids go to school. It's the same building, basically. I think right now it only has like 500 students. So it's way under capacity.
I've got kids who live right next to it, the Hazeldale one, and looking at it and said, it's the same building.
Yeah.
Just about.
Just turned a different way, just oriented a different direction. So for Cassandra and Katie, since you have kids there, if you have more questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to we can Zoom and talk it through or on the phone. about.
Curious, do you
Yeah.
know if they were going to expand the pre-K program then? Is that part of it? Or it's just making a different space for the, because I know the pre-K program is really limited.
You know, I'm not sure exactly. I don't know for sure. I can't speak to that. I know that the money that they're using is to reduce class sizes for Title I schools. So, and particularly kids who need that extra one-on-one attention, which I think is every kid, but they have a formula they use. And so, yeah. And if you want to be kept up on the process or where they're at, from the city's point of view, if you email me, I'd be happy to email you when I have additional information. This is the first step, so they still have to like complete the whole application and submit it to the city. So right now the city doesn't have anything to show you. And yeah, would love to say more, but I digress.
It is being recorded.
So hopefully you found this useful and interesting, and hopefully you're signed up to get the emails when the NAC does meet. And we will have another meeting in the future. I just don't know when that'll be yet.
Thank you, Miles.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for paying attention.
Well, I have to say, Zoom makes it a lot easier for those of us that do have kids and stuff around. Even without a pandemic, although it would be nice to see everyone in person, of course.
Oh man, it's great. I get to like sign off from this and I'm done. I'm home.
I know, right?
I'm not like driving home in the rain in the middle of the night, you know. Still time to put my kids to bed, which is great.
Nice.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Good to see you.
I'm going to turn off the recording. Penny, I have a question for you, though.
Oh,